professional skill in Unilag. Please, can you introduce yourself, sir?
Okay, my name is Abletiv Yusuf, a principal technology attached to Technical Entrepreneurship Center. And I'm the trainer for the printing and branding, printing, branding, and graphic design skills.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
It's a pleasure.
The number one question I will ask you is, how do you approach creating a brand identity from scratch?
Okay, so thank you for that question.
Yes, sir.
So I'm happy that I'm given this opportunity to equally educate some of our viewers and listeners as well. So when it comes to creating a brand from concept to completion, so I think it is not an easy task anyway. But I think the first thing that we need to understand is that for every project, there's what we call research and planning. So for you to have a successful branding tool, you need to research well into the vision, mission, and the values of your clients. Let me put it that way. So after you have done the proper research and planning, then whatever you're able to get should give you, should light up the way for you to know what exactly you want to do. Then after that, the next thing you move on to is the concept development.
Okay.
So what the idea that you have been able to extract from the mission, vision, and the values of the organization. So from there, you come up with a concept, whether be it a logo or a flyer, whatever you are doing for your customer. So after you have developed the concept, then the next thing you move on to is the concept development. Then you move on to So after the concept development, what is next is the design development. The concept is just like a sketch.
Yes.
So then after you have done that, you need to discuss with your client to see if actually you are representing the idea they want. So after that, you can now move on to the design development. So the design development that stage is already being computerized. Because you're already putting everything to shape. Do you get it? So that's the design development. Then after you have done that, then you can now move on to feedback and revision. So the feedback, okay, you have done with the design and you have given it to your customer, so you should wait for a feedback. Because maybe the person that is relating with you is not the overall. So you need to present it to the management. Through that, they will give their inputs and whatever. So they can now bring it back to you for revision. So after you have done that, they can now do the final presentation. Then after the final presentation, there's what we call evaluation and monitoring, and maintenance. Because for every excellent brand, they always have somebody that is doing the maintenance and the evaluation. So that is where you see a company like Coca-Cola or what do we call? We have Golden Penny. You always see the consistency in their brand. So because they're always maintaining it, so which I think is very important for every project.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I want to ask you, what design software are you proficient in, and which one do you prefer to use?
Well, when it comes to software, I'm a fan of CorelDRAW anyway. But with the trend, with the change in technology advancement, so I also am challenging myself to further my knowledge on some other software like Adobe Creative Cloud, like Figma, and some other, which are the trending software that designers are using. And I think if I can learn it as well, and I encourage my students to also do that. So that will give them an edge, and it will give them that creativity and competitive edge in the market.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, I would like to ask you, how do you ensure consistency across various branding materials and platforms? How do you ensure consistency?
To ensure consistency is not something very easy. So because it involves all the stakeholders, including the design, the person that is working on the design. So when we talk about consistency, it means it has to be the same all through. So for you to achieve that, you need to come up with what we call an assets management system. That's the brand asset management system. What does that mean? It means you need to create a folder that can be accessible by the stakeholder involved in the branding sector. Then also you must have an access code. Not everybody should be allowed to be just tampering with the branding assets, because the branding asset, these are the elements you use to promote your business from time to time, and that will keep consistency in the experience the customers are having over time. So likewise, for you to do that, you need to come up with what we call a periodic audit, because you need to audit your brand. Is it consistent from time to, because if you don't do that, as human being, over time or after some period, we get discouraged or we get overwhelmed by what is around us. So some might decide to compromise all this, but when you audit it, maybe 3 months at interval or 6 months at interval, you will know who actually is compromising your brand, and you can easily check such a person.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Now, the next question I would like to ask you is, can you just walk me through your typical design process from the onset to completion?
Walking through a design from the
Onset
okay
to
the completion. So that's from the concept to the completion. So if you want to work on any design, so what I do mostly is that I will do my research and discovery. I need to look at, okay, what exactly do my customer need? So after I've done that, I will try and come up with the core elements. That's the elements that I will need for the design. So after I've gotten those one, then I can now come up with a brief. So a brief is what gives a terms between you and your clients. It will be a guide that can also help you to understand what your customer is actually desire from your project. So through the brief, we can always have a feedback. If I send a design to the customer based on the brief, then I can always check the brief and say, okay, I'm actually on track. The moment I notice it's not in line with what we have in the brief, I can either call the customer that, oh, this is what we have here, and if the customer decides to change, then we can now include that in the brief. So that's one. Then the second thing is that after I've done that, I will give it to the customer to test run it. Now the designing aspect is something that depends. The concept might vary based on the individual exposure and the available elements that you're able to get. So once you give the customer and the customer put it, maybe the customer try to launch it. That's pre-launch. We call it pre-launch. It's not the final design anyway, but the customer wants to see the feedback. So they will try it and put it maybe in the product. Supposing we are working on the product package, so they will use it to send out some product outside. So the feedback they get from it, so that was what I'm going to use again to redefine the design, to work on the design. So once I'm able to achieve those feedback, then we can now set for the launch. So after the launch, I'm able to see, so there is still always room for improvement. So we can always do that based on the feedback. So from my research to prototype, or let me say to the design for the customer, then after the customer have launched the design, that's the pre-launch, then it will bring it back for completion. So I will now work on the design, perfect whatever we have noticed that is wrong with the design or the project, then we can now give it out for the final. So after that, then I'm going to create a guide, because that's another thing. For a successful brand, you need to create a guide. It is the guide that will help you, the stakeholders, and also assist you in satisfying your customer.
Okay, the last question I will ask you is, how do you ensure your designs effectively communicate the intended message or brand identity? The last question I will ask you is, how do you ensure your designs effectively communicate the intended message or brand identity?
Okay, so that's one of the vital question that I think for every design entrepreneur need to understand. So for effective communication and branding, so you need to understand your target audience very well. So those are just the preliminary anyway. So you need to come up, you need to understand the mission and vision. So there's no doubt about that. But for you to now maintain an effective communication, you need to have a guideline for your design. You need to have a guidelines. When it comes to the logo, you must have a guide that will, whoever is going to use the logo must ensure the details attached to it. Understand? It must not, if it is one, it has to maintain that dimension 1 by 2. If it is red in color, that color must not be, you understand, must not be changed whatsoever. The another thing is that you have to also create a guidelines for the users.
Okay.
So they must, it's not supposed to be meant for the canary. So those who are responsible for the branding will be the one that will be using it. And you have to create a template.
Okay, so.
A template is very, very important. Be it your letterheads, be it your business card, be it your social media. So you need to create something that will make sure you're having the same design also, and that's the only way you can make it effective, by having all these guidelines and rules and the measurements surrounding your work.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.